us to pay homage to him.
We have always been the prize because we have always had and still have something that other people won't, think they can't do without, and don't care to pay for. Because we have always been the prize, we have been under siege for over 3,000 years. Nothing that ever brought into Africa from the outside was meant to do the Africans any good.
She made me to know my history, to know my roots. So I grew up with a love for myself and secure within myself, never feeling inferior and certainly not feeling superior, but that chip on the shoulder that the young lady spoke about is my self-assurance, my confidence, my ability to speak the truth without fear. I don't bend when I don't have to. I don't scratch where I don't itch. I look white people in the eye and speak honestly and truthfully and candidly and unhypocritically to you. That's not a chip. That's just self-assurance that comes from self-knowledge. Teach your children that, and whether we are here or there, we'll be able to make a future for ourselves.
Who are you? You don't know? Don't tell me Negro, that's nothing. What were you before the white man named you a Negro? And where were you? And what did you have? What was yours? What language did you speak then? What was your name? It couldn't have been Smith or Jones or Bunch or Powell. That wasn't your name. They don't have those kind of names where you and I came from. No, what was your name? And why don't you now know what your name was then? Where did it go? Where did you lose it? Who took it? And how did he take it? What tongue did you speak? How did the man take your tongue? Where is your history? How did the man wipe out your history? What did the man do to make you as dumb as you are right now?
In fact, recently, some lot of garbage is written in books by people who call themselves historians, making it appear as if we have to thank Lyndon Baines Johnson for the advancement because he signed the Civil Rights Bill. Of course he signed it, but while he was signing it, we were in the streets burning the country down. You better hurry and sign it. Burn the whole country down and do it quick. But if you're not careful, you will thank Lyndon Baines Johnson.
I say now, give us that poetry on number 7. He wanted to go to heaven, so I took him in 7. You took him in 7. I am the king of the world. Hold it. I'm pretty. Hold it, you're not that pretty. I'm a bad man. Wait. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
So we always say in the Black Panther Party that they can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips, I am a revolutionary.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Melanated Power Hour. I'm your host, Sam Polk Jr. So honored, so blessed, so thankful to have you back with us one more time as we discuss issues pertinent to the African Diaspora. And once again, for those who are new to the show, the African Diaspora is anywhere that black people may be, whether it be Jackson, Mississippi, Nashville, Tennessee, Haiti, Puerto Rico, Barbados, you name it. We recognize those places as our homes away from home, but we also recognize the fact that we are indeed African and the continent of Africa is our home indeed. I am joined again by the man, the myth, the legend, the funniest man I know, comedian Just Will. What say you, my brother?
Man, I got a lot to say today, man.
Yeah.
This past weekend and everything that's been transpiring and everything, man, I just got a lot to say. And you know, I know we usually let the music play out and everything, man, but I'm gonna cut that a little short right now, man, all because right. Like we just need to go ahead and jump right into it, Sam, and address the elephant in the room.
Okay.
You know, because and the crazy thing is we just talked about this, man. You know what I'm saying? And we've done a few episodes on him. Here, you know, periodically, you know, time again, like that. So, you know, there's a lot of things I want to talk about with this, man. I got a couple of questions I want to ask you. Are you sad about the situation? Well, first of all, people don't even know that you've actually have been writing an academic paper to be published in a series of essays called The Experiment. And, you know, that's something that you talked to me about way back in the day.
Yeah, when it first happened.
Yeah. So, and you know that's just a lot of things that I feel like were left just on the shelf.
Yeah.
And I'm just. It's one thing to tell me, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm not gonna say direct it towards anything or anything. I'm just gonna say it loud, and listeners, y'all can take it how it may, but don't tell me one thing and do something else, and don't have the powers that be throwing it in my face.
Yeah.
Because that's what I felt when I saw the video.
Before you go any further, tell everybody what we talking about. Because it's somebody listening for the first time that don't know what the experiment is.
We're talking about Coach Prime.
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about, and we're talking about him leaving Jackson State and going to Colorado to take the head coaching job. Which he's talking about an opportunity, which. Hey, you had an opportunity. You had an opportunity. If you want to talk about a greater opportunity, you was there. You had an opportunity to do something that nobody has done.
He was doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So don't tell me about an opportunity or a greater opportunity. You said it's not about the money. So if it's not about the money and it's about an opportunity, then the opportunity that you had was greater than where you're going. That's just how I'm looking at it. But my brother, I'm gonna let you go into it because, I'm a little emotional into it. Because I played at a black college.
Yeah.
So it hits me a little different.
Yeah.
And as well as you did too. I'm not leaving you out. But don't tell me a better opportunity because they not better. I don't. I'm not gonna get into that.
We're gonna discuss it. We're gonna work it out. We're gonna sit on the couch and work it out.
I'm just saying, man, because like when
there's a lot of people with broken hearts.
Well, now I'm not gonna say broken heart. I'm more frustrated because I feel like you're saying that's better.
He is saying it.
Exactly. That's why
people got some broken hearts.
So you're telling me that this is better. Why? Because they have more money and they have the facility. They have the money to pay for facilities that we should have. Because we built this damn country, and I don't know why we got to pay for something that we built, and you wouldn't have none of that if we hadn't. But you know what? Go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
We're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it.
You know what? I was a comedian before this show. And now I'm an activist.
Well, one of these days, I'm probably going to say the opposite. Because the more and more time passes, we do these, we like in 100 and something, I don't even know what it is now. More people tell me I had them rolling laughing than they do, man, I learned something. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to be like, I can say the same thing. Man. I used to be Huey Newton before we started doing this show. Now I'm,
now you Richard Pryor.
Yeah, I'm Richard Pryor now. But I can't remember what you asked me at first, but you asked me if I was sad about it.
Yeah, what you sad about this?
And for the purposes of the show or doing this work, that I do, like I've always said, my soul's on ice when it comes to this. Because if you allow your emotions to get in it, you can get so upset, so frustrated, so sad that you can't continue. You know what I'm saying? So no, I'm not sad. But there was a time when I guess you could equate sadness to, let me put it like this, to make it make sense.
Okay.
The what you mentioned about the paper, academic paper, is a sociological study, which I really was hoping and thought that it was going to be like a 10-year paper. You know what I'm saying? And now it probably won't be in a series when it's all said and done. It may not even be a series of articles. It might be a book. You know what I mean? But I give you 3 dates to remember that plays a prominent part of these writings in its beginning stages, and that's 1965, and that is the date that the Civil Rights Act of 1965 was put into law. The second date of importance is 1971. That is the day that USC played Alabama and beat them up pretty bad with black players, and Bear Bryant knew that he had to go ahead and start recruiting those players. The next year would be 1978. Not only is that the year that the 1AA playoffs started, but that was also the creation of the different divisions, Division 1, Division 1AA, and they put rules in place that only allowed the top level to play on TV, giving them access to those advertising dollars, which the others didn't. And in order to foster that, the state allocated more money for them to build better stadiums and blah, 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 and it brings us to where we are. Another important date would be 1892. 1892 is when we played our first football game, and that would be HBCUs, rather, and that would be Livingstone versus Biddle. But people wanted to talk about it, and from ever since the announcement in 2020, rather, December 2020, I first started talking about it, and I called it the experiment. And it was one that I thought would work, and it sure was working. It just wasn't brought to fruition, but that's where we're leading. Before we get into it, let me give you a couple definitions from the way we're going to look at things, right? Okay. And the reason I'm doing that is because anybody that listens to this, let's say they fast forward through it to the 30-minute mark, they can listen to it from that point, and they'll think I think one thing. But if they didn't listen 15 minutes before, they won't know that I was saying something else. You understand? Right. In other words, let me put it like this: have you ever heard of argument from incredulity, or argument by incredulity? No. Basically, let me read the definition. Argument from incredulity, also known as argument from personal incredulity, appeals to common sense or the divine, a fallacy. That a fallacy could be divine if you believe it. It asserts that a position must be false if the person who disagrees with it has never heard of it. In other words, how many times have you had an argument with somebody, and maybe if you didn't know no better, you kept arguing with them, and it was to no end? In other words, if you're arguing with a fool, both of y'all fools. Right. There comes a time when you argue with somebody, you prove that you're right. I don't care. I'm still going to. That's argument from incredulity. Also, argument from incredulity is I'm telling you about something that you've never heard of, and you use the excuse that you've never heard of it to mean that it doesn't exist and I made it up. You know, you understand what I'm saying? Right. Okay. Now, here's the other thing. The other part, the other way we're going to look at this, I couldn't find a word that adequately describe it. I'm sure there's a word. Anybody that's a literature person or a scientific methodology person, put it in the chat. But in Ebonics terms, two things can be true at the same time. The closest word I found that could explain that is a word called paradox. And basically what I'm saying is, in other words, if I talk about somebody crying, the average person would believe I'm talking about somebody that's sad or upset. You also can cry from what? Joy. You see what I'm saying? True. Two things can be true. Somebody with tears could be joy, happy or sad, or both. Two things can be true at the same time. So that's where we coming from. It ain't a personal attack. It ain't getting messy. It's just having a conversation using somewhat of an intelligent way of looking at it, or else we just being messy. You understand what I'm saying? But it's all of the things that I've looked at in these last 2 wonderful years of what could have been or a dream deferred that we're going to use to look at some of these things. Well, go ahead, my brother. Hope that wasn't too... No,
not at all, man. And like I said, man, this is a little emotional for me simply because, you know, I'm a Cowboy fan for one, you know, and this past week has been nice to Cowboy fans. We had a lot of bad things coming back.
Shout out to LeBron James.
Yeah, definitely shout out to LeBron James.
And I just wanted to stick that in there because if you wasn't aware of it. I ain't the biggest basketball fan, but it came across my attention that he was constantly asked about Kyrie Irving.
Right.
And he kind of was at a certain point like, hey, man, I didn't say that. He said that. I'm not even saying whether I agree or disagree, but why y'all keep asking me about this? And he pointed out the fact, he basically raised this question to all the reporters in the room. How come ain't nobody asked me about Jerry Jones?
They got quiet.
He said, why I'm just surprised nobody's asked me about what I thought about Jerry Jones. And I thought that was spot on. But go ahead.
You know what? I'm going to say what you always say. I'm surprised they didn't ask.
No, I'm surprised LeBron James did it. I'm going to be honest with you. Because usually our most recognizable people have too much to lose to say things like that. And that's why I wanted to give him a shout out. I was surprised because that's out of the normal. You understand what I'm saying? Go ahead. How many others asked him that?
True.
But go ahead.
Nah, but with that going on with the whole Jerry Jones thing, and then Deion used to play here, and now we got that slapping. I'm like, come on, man, it's just hard on Cowboy fans right now.
Yeah.
But I just want to ask you, man, because he's gone.
Yeah, he's out of here.
He's out of Jackson State.
5 stages of grief. There's still people that don't believe he's gone.
Really?
He's gonna come back and coach one more game, and he might, and then he gonna do some kind of WWF stunt where he, fools Colorado. But anyway, go ahead. He gone.
So basically, he's gone. First of all, what are your thoughts on the fact that he recommended one of his assistants to replace him?
Okay. Ordinarily, that would be a nice thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That would be, man, that's a real stand-up guy.
And we talk, so I know what you're about to say.
But just no emotions, no messiness. Just answer the question straight up. We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks as it's been building, and there's a reason I've been talking about it. Because sometimes I know some things.
Yeah.
What was his reason for leaving?
Because from what,
if he left, he was entertaining offers, from my understanding,
if he was to leave, it was to get his coaches paid because he don't need money, like he said. He's like, I don't need money. I don't chase a bag. The bag chase me. That's what he said.
Does that answer your question? Why would you recommend one of your assistants to be the head coach and recommend that they retain a number on the staff with the excuse to keep it flowing, or I don't know how these guys will act with somebody new, if your whole purpose of leaving was to make sure they got paid better? You leaving them where they at. So what does that tell you that was? Cap, as young people say. That's the game. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it's a thin line between preaching and pimping, and both of them selling hope and faith. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes if you're good at it, we all fall for it. Because I was absolutely at first saying, you know what? That's a good point. That's a good idea, until you realize he never had any intentions of taking them guys with him, primarily because he didn't think they were good enough to go where he was going. But go ahead.
But I'm going to sit here, Sam, because just from the conversations that we've had, man, truthfully, honestly, man, you knew he was gone a long time ago, didn't you?
Hell yeah. I'm surprised.
Cause you could.
I'm surprised nobody else. What's the one thing you never heard me say in defending him or explaining why he's doing the good things he's doing that seem bad? What's the one thing you never heard me argue?
What's up?
He gonna be here next year.
Oh yeah, you never did that.
But I mean, I'm surprised everybody else surprised.
Yeah, I mean, because that's one thing I can say. You was like, even when we talked, you was like, man, it just don't look good. You would never say anything, but it's like you knew. So I mean, that's just.
Yeah, I pay attention to things.
How did you know?
I pay attention to.
I know you pay attention, but
detail. I gave you a couple pictures. They were kind of random.
Yeah.
But pull them up, and there's one. First of all, go to the one that's with the J hat. I'm gonna explain something. I'm gonna explain the maturation of this thing.
All right.
Anybody, and also I got skin in the game because I'm from this place. This is one of the most oppressed, racism-infested places in the country. Jackson, Mississippi. This is my hometown. Now, there's something that everybody calls the J hat now. We've been wearing them hats since I was a kid. because that's basically the design of Jackson State University's baseball team, right? And it wasn't always it's such a different place that anybody from there, that's our pro football team, that's our pro baseball team, that's our pro basketball team. You see what I'm saying? We support that. So that J means more than just it's a baseball hat or a football hat. It represents the city, right? And I'm a real Jacktown Jew. I'm a Jew baby. And I know that sounds funny to some people, not J-E-W, but those who know. And when I first saw him wear one of those hats, man, it felt like wow. You understand? I can't even explain it.
What people don't understand, too, like, if for newcomers who's watching the show, Dion is like your hero.
Yeah. And to see him with a J hat on, right. It was like that. But he probably made that hat in whatever crazy-ass color he came up to keep changing them around. Because when I was growing up, it was just blue with a white J. Everybody, he probably made it the most popular hat in fashion now, hip-hop fashion, where these high school kids know what school they're going to go to, and they put all the hats out there and knock them out the way and put out the J hat. It just means something. You see what I'm saying? But I bring up that to say that has been his normal pattern of dress for the majority of the 2 years he's been with us. You understand what I'm saying? Right. And, he was a constant, dude got swag.
Oh,
out of this. Go ahead.
Real quick, because he's been there for 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people want to argue and say it was 3. But
now it was 2 years with 3 seasons.
With 3, and because of the spring. Because of the spring, and a lot of people don't know that when they had to play due to COVID.
Right.
They had to play football.
A shortened season.
Yeah. So that I just I wanted to clear that up with somebody I talked to about earlier.
And also stick a pin in that, the brilliance of nothing would have been possible in terms of what he accomplished without that spring season and the way he used it different than everybody else. But if you paid attention to the way that he dressed.
I'm going example 1?
Yeah. The typical, wherever you saw him, man, he was wearing Jackson State apparel, right? Mm-hmm. This is a picture right here of him about 3 weeks ago. What do you notice that's kind of missing?
He don't have the logos.
Now, that's weird to me. And not only was it weird to me, that's just something you don't see a coach do.
Right.
You got another one. Yeah. That solidified it for me. And that was after the Alcorn game. And I'm like, there's nothing that says Jackson State.
That looked like when he was with the Falcons.
Yeah, it's like, have you signed something that said you can't wear this no more?
Right.
Or am I looking too much into it? But when I started to see his Twitter posts, which come like every 5 minutes because he's on there. I don't know if he's doing them, he got somebody doing them, but don't 5 minutes go by without him saying something. Not a 2-day period went by in the majority of these 2 years that he wasn't recruiting somebody from the FBS or Group of 5 where he told them to come play at Jackson State. He started to say, come play for Prime, and the Jackson State was gone. Now, I know people saw that and didn't think none of it. I knew exactly what it meant, right? Now, it got to a point where you didn't see any posts, and people said, did he stop recruiting? I'm thinking in my head, hell no, he recruiting for Colorado. You can't post that and he's still coach. You see what I'm saying? But you could, when you know what to look for. Good night, Irene. You see, the writings on the wall, and when somebody's dealing with grief, you think of denial, convincing yourself you ain't seeing what you seeing. You understand what I'm saying? Right. But man, 3 weeks ago, that man gone, man. You know what I'm saying?
That's terrible, dude.
He gone.
And
but
basically for like 2 years, you studied the experiment.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
In detail.
Yeah, in detail. Mm-hmm. So for 2 years, you studied the experiment, man. Like
probably the most fun 2 years I've ever had, primarily because as great as Jackson State football was, they've never been undefeated. They've been unbeaten, if that makes sense. They had a season in '88, I think, where they won 9 games. Nobody beat them, but they had 2 ties. But 12-0 never happened. And I had to be this old to see it, and he was the one that did it. You see what I'm saying? Right. On top of he was my favorite player. On top it's been so exciting because it had gotten to the point where he had died off so much It was like going into a time machine. He brought all of this stuff back. I don't even know if he's fully aware
of what he's done,
of what he did, and how many people that he touched, and how many old people were going back to games that hadn't been in 20 years because they couldn't stomach what they was watching. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead, man. I don't want to just ramble.
So the experiment, what now?
Sure, it was a great experiment, but all experiments come to an end, and you assess your findings and what happened. You know, was it successful or not? And you can take the sample size of what you got and kind of make a hypothesis about what it would have been 5 years, 10 years from now. And I have no doubt it would have worked in terms of what we would have wanted if he had stayed.
Right.
But I heard Coach Simmons say, a wonderful podcaster, Coach Simmons said, you can't keep somebody that don't want to be kept.
Right.
And that's the ugly side of it that most people don't want to look at. In other words, there's two things can be true at the same time. He did an excellent job. He did so much good that you can't even quantify it with a financial number. It's priceless. But at the same time, I can also say he didn't understand his assignment. And his assignment wasn't just to be a good coach. It wasn't just to do a good job or a great job. The assignment was much more than that. And if you want the job, you will do it till you're tired of it. If you don't want the assignment that comes with it, if that makes sense. Right. You understand what I'm saying? The assignment calls for your presence in order to see it to fruition. But if it was something in your head that said, I'm going to do this until something comes along better, then you were the man for the job. You just wasn't the man for the assignment. Can I make a comparison without being messy or ugly?
Yeah.
E.D. Nixon chose the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King when he was a young man, when he was 26 years old, to lead the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955. He chose him because he saw something in him, also because he was the only one who had the courage to do it. Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King not only did a good job when he chose or volunteered to do it, he understood the assignment. And he understood that it's probably going to get me killed. And I sure would love to see that freedom we fighting for, but I ain't going to get there with you. He never ran from it. He never shied away from talking about it. And he completed the assignment on the balcony in Memphis. Let's say Martin Luther King was doing a great job, but he didn't understand the assignment or he didn't want it. It looks the same way being picked by E.D. Nixon, by leading the bus boycott, Montgomery bus boycott, ending segregation in that Jim Crow form on the bus. Continue to do these great things, and we like, oh, wow, look what he's doing. I'll follow him anywhere. And then you get to 1963, and he sets up the March on Washington. And then say, hey, man, everybody gather around. I got something to tell you. Here's what it is. I got an offer from the Vatican. They want to make me the first black pope. Here's what it is. I'm gone. Where will we be? Now, two things can be true at the same time. He desegregated the buses. He did this. He did that. But how much more could he have done if he didn't just want to do a good job, but he wanted to accept the assignment? You understand what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Man, so basically, he's gone. He's in Colorado. He's not at Jackson State. He's your favorite player. He's just, childhood hero.
Mm-hmm.
Will you support him in Colorado?
No. Nah, ever known me to support anybody at Florida State or Auburn? No, because I don't support the Confederate conferences. And what I mean by that is most of these conferences was built on the Confederacy. Their mascots symbolize it. The way they ran their schools symbolized it. And even the ones way up in Colorado, that's who populates those states, people that traveled out there looking for a better opportunity. Now, I believe in applauding people when they need to be applauded. He need a standing ovation for what he did. I've always said the day he left, there's nothing but praise I'm going to be able to do. I'm going to give him his flowers, right? And I do. He just didn't lead the way I thought he should have left. But at the same time, two things can be true. It is better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. And I'm sure you've had a relationship that when it was good, it was great. And you got lots of memories. But either the day you decide to go or she decide to go, we're going to just block that number. We're going to change the locks. Wish you well, good luck, but I ain't interested in that Colorado shit no more. Can't watch it. You know what I'm saying? And it don't mean that I don't wish you well, but I can't support that.
And people, you know what? I really don't care because this is how I feel. Because I looked at the, him addressing the Colorado football players. And when he walked into that room,
all those beautiful white faces.
And look, man, it is what it is.
First thing you hear, and I can only automatically, well, I ain't gonna do that because I don't do that. But I just say the first thing you heard was, "Look how nice it is in here."
Yeah,
that was kind of a slap in the face.
It's a slap in the face simply because I'm looking at these kids that you left, and now I'm looking at these kids that you're going to, and it's like, how much more privileged? I mean, you had kids that got to learn from one of the greatest people to ever play that position. You know what I'm saying? You used your magic to get these kids there, and now you're going and you're giving this information to these privileged kids. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. And I people will say, "Oh, you just no, man, dude. How much more? Like, we already got to fight harder than anybody anyway. We already got to be 10 times better than what the best person is. So it's even if you're the best, you have to be 10 times better than that just to get ahead. And I'm not saying that he was going, that he was, but dude, this. You taking somebody that was here and you putting them in a position to where they don't need him. And that's
it's not that they don't need him, but your family needed you more,
right?
And you out helping the world.
You're basically
instead of your own. You know what I'm saying?
And that's it. I mean,
but the thing is, if you was looking at it as upward mobility. There's no argument if that's said at the outset, but not to rehash, last week we already talked about it. You said what you was going to do. You said God told you to do this. You understand what I'm saying? And that plays with people's hearts. It's people with broken hearts, really, that believed in what you were selling them. But again,
and like
two things can be true at the same time. I wish you well.
I mean, and we talk that because, like, I'm not a Jackson State fan. You know that. Yeah, I mean, but it's just this hits different. Because of the culture. And I mean,
with my emotions out of it, it's not about which school he's at, because what's that saying? People say a rising tide lifts all boats. Look at the better position other SWAC schools and black schools are in, but for the simple reason they knew they had to step their games up, or he's going to literally do what he's been doing, whooping your ass for the next 20 years. And there's a little detente there because it ain't quite as easy as it used to be because people are stepping their game up, right? So the benefit that he did, there's people that are hurt, people who are logically and reasonably minded. They went to all kind of schools, and some who went to PWIs that just didn't know about black schools, that on the course of this 2-year journey are saddened about the news. You understand what I'm saying? So that's a natural part of the way to look at it.
Give me the pros and cons of this.
It might hurt some. That's the other part. The pros part of it may hurt some feelings.
It don't. But you know,
Okay.
we get into this and we say it's not. We just giving the information.
Okay.
You know, whether it hurts your feelings or not. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's we just giving you the information.
Part of my findings in this experiment is looking at things the way we look at them. In other words, one of the biggest problems in our football programs and our universities and colleges is nepotism, and how we determine who's qualified for a job based on, that's my aunt's son, I'll make him the offensive coordinator. Or that's my frat brother, he's going to be my assistant head coach. And I don't know when we started doing this, I'm still looking for it, but at a certain point we got to a trend where if this person wasn't an alumni of the school, they can't work here. And how backwards minded, how limiting that is, can't be expressed almost, because most of the greatest coaches in the SWAC never came from the SWAC. They were just the best qualified for the job. Nick Saban did not go to Alabama. You understand what I'm saying? Bobby Bowden didn't go to Florida State. They just was the most qualified. What if Alabama wouldn't have allowed Nick Saban to be their head coach because he had previously coached at LSU? What sense do that make? This is the way we've governed ourselves probably for the better part of 20 years. You understand what I'm saying? And sometimes, as I'm tabulating this information, I've learned that a lot of times it's best from an outside source to come in and ask them, hey, man, what you think about this? You know what I'm saying? I need the people that love me tell me what I want to hear. I have been looking at this for so long, I can't spot things that I need to fix because I was born into it being like this, so I've accepted this as normal. You understand what I'm saying? Like somebody that's been institutionalized and they get out of jail and they want to go back because this stuff is so foreign, even though this stuff out here in the world is the way it's supposed to be. Right. You can have a squirrel die in your attic and you didn't know it died up there, but maybe in a couple of days you start to smell something and you can't find it and you forget about it. And then you have company in about a month and they walk in and they be like, man, what the is that? You forgot about it because you so familiar with it that you don't even smell it anymore. This person had to come. You see what I'm saying? Right. Sometimes it takes outside person to come in and help you fix something that you don't see yourself. And in the context of my study of the experiment, we've never tried a different set of black eyes that came from a different black experience. And one thing about Coach Sanders is he played at a PWI. So he's seen the way it's supposed to be in terms of money spent, facilities, and not accepting anything less. Also the fact that he's been a millionaire since he was 21, so he's used to things being a different way.
Right. And
when you got that kind of money, you don't accept things not being accepting things when they should be better. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, case in point, he'll take the best player on his team, and if he late a minute, he ain't playing. We don't understand that as fans. We like, man, why he ain't playing that boy? He don't care. Where he come from, the NFL stand for not for long. You know what I'm saying? Because I go find 10 more just like you. You do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. Think about the practice field we used to practice on.
Man.
With holes and rocks and ants, and the seniors and juniors, when you get there, would express with glee. The people that had broken their ankles or sprained their ankles, or the day I got bit up by ants so bad I had to go to the doctor, and we don't do nothing like, oh, okay, I guess it's all right, I'm scratching because I'm bit up by ants, because everybody else was too. They'll walk in and be like, man, this shit crazy. We got to fix this. I don't have the money to fix it. Let me show you how to get it without having the money. You see, those things are priceless. Those things are the positives. the exposure in terms of media being on 60 Minutes. Can you imagine College Game Day coming to an HBCU game? You know what I'm saying? That kind of stuff you can't pay for. Those are the kind of things you put his face up in the Hall of Fame.
Will they be back?
Will those people come back?
Yeah.
I seriously doubt it. But that's not a part of the positives. A part of the positives is that with a different mindset, a different way of doing things, showing you fighting and scratching and disagreeing with him the whole way, this is how it's supposed to be done, and you don't really understand it till you see the benefits of it or the rewards of it. Somebody else, if you can find them, can replicate that. Now, there will never be another Prime. He's one of one, and nobody gonna be able to. He like Muhammad Ali. You ain't gonna find. You might be able to find your Roy Jones though. You might be able to find somebody with enough cachet to learn the lessons of what he did and try to replicate it the best that he can. You understand what I'm saying? And the biggest thing that he taught us is to not rely on one person like they're Moses. Because one day they'll either be gone because they tired of it, they die a natural death, and then what?
Right.
And we do a piss poor job of preparing a successor to take over for somebody that's exceptionally brilliant. And this is why we take a Nelson Mandela that's been in jail for 30 years and make him the president. When you should have been, he should have been able to prop his feet up somewhere and live a good life. But you haven't, I heard it said somewhere that you're not fully a success unless you are preparing successors to take over when you no longer are here, for whatever reason. But those are some of the pros, the positives. He made it popular again. He brought people from the outside in that wanted to help, that didn't know they wanted to help, until he made it cool, or he made them aware that this is a thing. You understand what I'm saying? And he brought people in a place together in a way that they had never been in a long time, and it was based on the success of a football team that had been down for so long. And it's bigger than football because things can get better if your attitude gets better, if you're happier, if you ain't just sad all day, you got something to look forward to. You see what I'm saying? Those are the positives. You can't never take those away. And he's worthy of tribute and flowers and trophies just for that alone. You understand what I'm saying? Two things can be true at the same time.
So what are some of the cons?
Some of the negative things?
Yeah.
Where do I begin? He has probably single-handedly made everybody who feels that they're better than the experts tell them they are, that they can jump in a transfer portal and go somewhere and be something different. And sometimes, like I said, it's great to have confidence in yourself. It's great to think that you are something that you're. It's great to think. In other words, I try to never think of myself as less than I am, but I also try not to think I'm more than I am. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And the line becomes blurred when you're so good at convincing people to come with you. Let me give you an example. Let's say, Brother Brown, I coach a 9-year-old boxing team. And I really want to be the coach of the 12-year-olds because it pays a little more.
Okay.
Somebody gives me a job coaching the 9-year-olds. So I go to the playground and I find all the 12-year-olds who got beat up when they tried out for the 12-year-old team. And I convince them to come with me and join my team. Just pretend you 9. Don't tell nobody you 12. What's going to happen to the competition?
It's going to get demolished.
Why? Is it because they're good, or is it because they're just
they're going against lesser? I mean,
right. So the secret sauce to what he did, and most football people know this. He went up to the Power Fives and found people who didn't get much playing time because they weren't the best there. There were people better than them, and that's the way the world works. But he convinced them to come with me. He went to the group of 5, which is a step down from the power of 5. Find those people who may not have been playing, and he come with me. Your competition level is here. So it doesn't matter that you're not as good where you were. When you come with me, the fact that you're 12-year-old in a 12-year-old body fighting 9-year-olds, you're going to look like the champ. What happens when he leaves? They're going to jump back in that thing thinking there's something they're not, if that makes sense. Or I could start a seniors bowlers tour where the average participant is 70 or 60 years old, and I go find a bunch of 50-year-olds and put gray wigs on them. It's going to look like I'm the greatest that ever did it. The truth of the matter is he's a hell of a recruiter. But what bought him time in winning those games was he just out-recruited where he was because the other guys didn't think they could do that. Now they believe they can. You see what I'm saying? And the main thing he was doing, one of the biggest reasons I'm disappointed in his decision is because while that was buying him time, he was slowly recruiting 5 stars, 4 stars. And if he had just stayed till his contract was up, his roster would have looked like Alabama. Because these ain't people you convinced to come down and help me, convince 12-year-olds to come help you stomp on 9-year-olds. These would have been the guys who could have started there, but you changed the narrative so much that the culture said the cool thing to do ain't to go play for them, is to play for yourself. You see what I'm saying? If that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
A negative would be, think about all the young men that you asked to do something that in the very end you wasn't willing to do. You told them to come somewhere for the culture and play in front of an audience of 60,000 black faces. But the second you got an opportunity to coach a team in front of 60,000 white faces, you took it. What does that say? It just undoes everything you did because you're saying that the black is lesser in the end, and the promotion was the white. And it's, again, not about the money if you understand the assignment. You understand what I'm saying? But
I guess he ain't swag.
Well, that's where I won't go. Because the wins that he had, the championship that he had, they happened. And he did it by whooping the swag. You don't get much more swag than that. I wish I could say something cruel like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he was swag. Nah, he was swag, bro. He was swaggity swag. He was swagger. He was more swagger than the ones you know swag. I just wish he had a stage some more. You know, since I ain't gonna go that far. But he was absolutely swag now. And his braggadocio and stuff, that wasn't nothing new either. That's how all the coaches used to act. I don't even know if he knew that, but Archie Cooley, Cas, them jokers, it was like WWF. I told you some of them used to fight and get these speeches, and it was awesome. He fit right into that. But another negative is the city that you left. You brought up the morale, and almost in a second you crushed it. But not just leaving, but the way you left. Yeah. It's just with unfinished business on the table. Literally, you got the national championship game left, the Black College National Championship left, and you gone. And even if you do come back and coach that game, you run around the internet wearing Colorado stuff. I don't even know if you should come back at this point. You know what I'm saying? But those are a lot of the negatives. But go ahead.
Let me ask you this. And just hear me out for a second. You know, Colorado took one of ours. You know, just a big name, black representative of our community, and brought him in to coach Colorado. What do you think about a white guy? Not just any white guy, but you know, a big time white representative coming in and coaching JSU
to try to recreate what he did.
Yeah, which, well, go ahead.
I'll say this.
And the only reason, and I'm going to say this, the reason I ask that because there's a lot of people out there asking that question.
Yeah. This is what I'm going to say. it's a brilliant idea. If I was in the business of doing a coaching search and somebody had that idea, that would immediately want me to get that guy to come to my team, because that's a guy with some idea. That's a guy that does some thinking. Bring up Peyton Manning in here and imagine what he could do. And he probably wants to get into coaching too, don't have no coaching experience. Maybe that would be a stepping stone job for him. This is why two things can be true at the same time. This is why I can recognize that as a good idea. And here's the why it shouldn't happen. The second you hire a Peyton Manning or Eli Manning or Howie Long, or think of somebody Dan Marino or Brian Urlacher, let them win a few games. And you know what's going to happen?
What?
You're going to need affirmative action for a black coach to get a job at an HBCU. Because what is everybody going to want to do?
Get a white coach.
Not just a celebrity coach, a white one.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And if Dion could bring American Airlines and Walmart and Under Armour in Mississippi, we could pay. Eli Manning could build Alcorn up. Man, they win the national championship in 2 years. If Dion could do what he did, can you imagine Brett Favre? But you see where I'm going with this?
Right.
Some ideas may be so good, leave that alone, because you kiss all the black coaches goodbye. But let me tell you a deeper reason why you should never do this.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever heard of this guy. There's a guy named Jay Hobson. You ever heard of him?
No.
He's the first ever white man to be the head coach at Alcorn. He came, he recruited great, and he won, I think, maybe 6 SWAC championships. And right when the Celebration Bowl started, I think he may have went 3 times. I don't think he won, but won. No, he didn't win any. But you see the success he had, right?
Yeah.
Guess what happened?
What happened?
He automatically, after like 3 championships, conference championships, he gets an offer to coach at a, PWI, not a group of 5, not a Power 5, but a group of 5 school, Brett Favre's old school, University of Southern Mississippi. He's making millions of dollars. He's being rewarded for the great coaching job he did. And, of course, as a white man, he thought it was a step up, because make no mistake about it, he didn't want to be at Alcorn. It's just, that's how he got his start, right? You know what the difference is? You know why you shouldn't hire a white coach for that job? You know who replaced him?
Who?
Fred McNair. You know who Fred McNair is? That's Steve McNair's older brother. Hell of a quarterback at Alcorn. Great Canadian League player and a hell of a coach. When Jay Hobson got to the University of Southern Mississippi, you know how long he lasted? Not long. You know why? He couldn't win. You know why? He didn't take Fred with him. Fred was the brains of the operation. Fred been coaching there ever since he left. Winning championships, going to the Celebration Bowl. How many offers he get? Why? Because of the color of his skin. And everybody knows now why Jay Hobson was winning in. It was him. He just kept the winning going. You see what I'm saying? But nobody has made him an offer. Not a USM, not a Ole Miss, Mississippi State, not a goddamn Millsaps. Because the disparity in equality in terms of leveling the playing field, that's exactly what we're talking about. So go ahead.
No, I'm laughing when you said Millsap, because that's one of the first colleges that I reached out to.
Oh, okay. Well, be glad you didn't do that.
Yeah,
because you didn't know what you was getting yourself into.
I didn't.
But that's just, that's the thing. Nepotism made Nebraska hire Frost, who was a great coach where he was, but when he stepped up in competition, he got his ass beat. He got fired. Guess where he is now?
Well,
he ain't without a job. He interviewing for jobs. I think he got one. But you see the point I'm making. Hugh Freeze at Ole Miss did a pretty good job. He gets fired for being caught with prostitutes. Where is he now? He just got a job at Auburn. You see what I'm saying? It's so unequal that the few places that we do have, for us, by us, where we can be a head coaching job, I don't give a goddamn if John Madden crawl up out the grave and apply for the job. He shouldn't get it over a black man just for those reasons. But it's a great idea, great thought. But go ahead.
For the sake of time, and put your emotions back in it. Who do you feel sorry for?
I feel sorry for two people. I'm gonna name the first person first. Aubrey Miller, who was one of the first players that Coach Prime recruited from the SEC. He played at the University of Missouri, the Tigers, right? Top-notch linebacker, a little immature in the beginning. If you go watch those documentaries, he was always getting in trouble, and they was always mad at him, and he didn't go to class. You watch that young man mature to an A student. You watch that man mature into the starting middle linebacker. You watch that man mature to the point where he is the SWAC Defensive Player of the Year. Got invited to the Senior Bowl. And he's on most draft lists as at least a second or third round NFL draft pick, right? Do you know why he came back this year? He came back because they lost the Celebration Bowl. He could have went pro last year. He came back for one reason. He came back to finish what he started. And who do you think convinced him to come back?
Deion.
And he came back. And at 12-0, he came back for this moment that's about to happen in 2 weeks. And you left him in that moment. Even if you come coach it, you left him. Because if you on the internet with a Colorado hat on, you here, but you ain't present. You understand the job, but you don't understand the assignment. Now think about all the players that are hurt that won't play because either they mad or trying to get back at him because he want to lose. You leaving him hanging.
I don't think people really understand the magnitude of that, man. It's like when you play for a team, your coach is rocking another uniform.
At the same time, he technically is still your coach. And he convinced you to come back with this game. But for the sake of not getting messy, because again, I can't bring myself to it yet because he's my man. That's still prime time, and I'm still so happy for what he did. You understand what I'm saying? Two things can be true at the same time. I'm conflicted.
Once again, I'm putting myself in that situation.
Yeah. Okay.
And like, hey, like I said, would you say two things can be true?
Yeah, two things can be true at the same time.
I'm looking at it from an emotional standpoint, from somebody who can picture, like, because I've been in those locker rooms, and I couldn't fathom I couldn't even think of my coach rocking another university. I just couldn't.
Yeah. But I mean, I ain't gonna say that. Let me say this: the other person or group of people that I feel the sorriest for are the citizens of Jackson, Mississippi. And the reason is because there are a lot of old people in Jackson, Mississippi. And it's a part of that area of the country they call the Bible Belt. And if you are a coach or a recruiter, or you trying to win somebody over, if you trying to marry some young lady, the first thing you do is convince mama and daddy. You know what I'm saying? And how do you do that in a lot of those places with an older person? You do it by invoking the Lord. And if you had came in and said, hey, baby, I'm prime, and I ain't here for a long time, but I'm here for a good time. We're going to have some fun. I'm going to get up out of here. We would be like, the Celebration Bowl, I ain't going to be able to be there. Because we wouldn't have thought we could got there. You know what I'm saying? That's different. But you came up in here, man, and you told us that you didn't want the job, but you took it because God called you collect. That means you had to pay for that call. And he said, you can't leave, son, until you finish the assignment. And the assignment is leveling the playing field. He told us that. You know how many older black Mississippians believe that? You know how many people in the town were, their self-esteem rose because he made them think that God had a purpose for them by sending him. And go ahead.
There's a few things I don't play with. I don't play with the Lord. I don't. I'm a heavy believer, and it's just certain things that and I know coming from
No, the thing I was gonna say is the first time I hear somebody tell them what the Lord told them, I done checked out anyway.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of that stuff didn't mean nothing to me because I ain't going that way. Yeah. I just know what it meant to other people.
Yeah, and for me, and that's why I'm finna say what it means to me.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell me something like that, and just based on my beliefs, you know, because we done had this conversation, based on my beliefs, karma's a mother. And there's certain things that happen that I can't explain. I just can't. You know, that's just my belief system. But I believe that, you know, if you're gonna say one thing and that's why you there, then you need to do it.
Right.
Because if you don't, karma will come back and bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
And that's just my belief. I'm not wishing no ill will on nobody or nothing like that. I'm not. Yeah. What I'm saying is, you don't play with certain things.
It's just like, you know, before you married your lovely wife, there were, I'm sure, some females that you learned through experience. It's best just to tell them what it is up front, than to tell them what they want to hear, and they believe it. That's how you end up with your car in the bottom of the lake. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Because you can play with a person's heart and have them thinking one thing, they willing to kill for you. And then you do the opposite and they trying to kill you. You understand what I'm saying? That's the tough part about it. Now, the reason I say I feel sorry for them, because, man, it almost is too much to ask for a guy that's supposed to be just coaching football and winning games, right? But when you make that announcement and you say what you came to do and who you say sent you to do it, that don't make you the man for the job. That make you the man for the assignment.
Right.
And then you turn around when you're meeting with your football players, and I know you've been hearing the talk, so you say, I know who God is. I know God now. And God got an anointing on my life. God just shifted. He said that. Now, hold on, man. Prime something else, bro. You know, two things can be true at the same time now. I love him to death, and even sometimes the foolishness I love, because, hey, I know when a cat is slick as a can of oil, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes, even though you know it's wrong, you appreciate the skill level. But let me just say this. When a lot of people who heard that last night when he said it, this is what they did. They went to that same book, and they went to James chapter 1. Verse 17. You know what it says?
What's that?
It says, whatever is good and perfect comes down to us from God our Father, who created all the light in the heavens. He never changes or casts a shifting shadow. God don't change his mind because he was right in the beginning, and he don't shift courses for a person's life. And you fucked up when you said that, because with all that slick talk and all that TD Jakes training, you should have known that was the wrong thing to say, to try to fix it. Some things you just don't fix. Just leave it alone. You did what you were supposed to do, and you was happily doing it until you got a better offer. That just is what it is. And I think at that point he realized, maybe even I forgot I said that shit, but I was trying to win him over. But it got to that point, and it was like, we just recognized what we saw, and we just recognized how you saw us. Let's just part there. But you tried to make it better. You tried to justify it. And you kind of just effed it up. So I won't be tuning in. In fact, I unsubscribed from everything involving this experiment, because I can't watch it. You know what I'm saying? I just can't watch it, can't do it. Now, there's one son, I ain't gonna name, that I haven't unsubscribed to, because he seems, from all indications, to not agree with this, and I'm gonna rock with him 100%. In fact, I'm gonna wear his jersey in 2 weeks in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody understood the assignment, even though it wasn't theirs. And the most beautiful thing about it, we might have to wait a little while. Maybe he the man for the assignment. Because I don't think he got a love for the drama like his old man. He just loved it. Man, this man marching around with drum majors, and he don't want to go nowhere, man. And you can tell he was fully invested and bought into it. And like he said, I ain't even tell my family this because they can't hold water. It hit him across the head like it hit us. So it is what it is. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I will say this. I don't like to get too into religions and stuff, man. You know, I love my Prime. I love my Jack State. I hate the way it went down, but I got to ask the question. When you got that call, and it was a collect call, you remember Florida Evans from Good Time?
Yeah.
Was it her Jesus, or was it the black Jesus JJ put on the wall? She was like, maybe you listened to the wrong one. But in other words, we'll see you next week, and we're going to talk about something pertinent to the discussion of African American diaspora and studies. And this probably puts a permanent pin in our discussions about the experiment. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, in the words of the great Harriet Tubman, we out.